What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're continuing this Boeing tractor project, and I pulled the engine out of it as you saw in the last video, and since then I have completely cleaned this entire engine up and it looks incredibly hopeful. I took the oil pan off, a whole bunch of water was in the engine. I cleaned all that out. There was very little rust in the engine. When there was rust, I cleaned it all out and took the ejector pump out. It was stuck, I unstuck it, got it all back together. If you want more information, leave the comments below or whatever. I can explain more of how I tore the injection pump apart. But a couple of these rocker arms were all stuck, and now it's all free. It has great compression. So now everything works just like it should. As you can hear, it sounds amazing. The glow plugs actually still work, which is really good. And now I'm just waiting on the oil filter right back there, because the original oil filter is, well, completely charred. So when that comes in the mail, then we'll be able to put this thing back together and try to start it up for the first time. So that'll be exciting. But that's not what we're working on today. Today we're working on the transmission on this thing. So I made this little adapter right here that goes on the coupler for the drive shaft, and just put a bolt right through it so I can hook a drill up to it and spin it over really fast, the right direction, to see if any of the stuff worked. And, well, nothing worked. So I'm going to be dropping the transmission out of this tractor today, so I can split the case and figure out why. I think it's just low oil. I'm not certain on that yet. So I'm also trying to figure out something with that right there, since it's kind of, all melted right there. Trying to figure out a nice seal, like over here, this nice seal on this side. But anyway, so this all spins, as you can see, it's all spinning really freely there. And yeah, so basically I have it hooked up to the ceiling with a toe strap right there. So when I get all these bolts on the side taken out, I can just ratchet that thing up, and then pick the frame up and leave the transmission right on the ground. At least that's what I hope. So I have to undo all the linkages, undo a whole bunch of bolts, and yeah, undo a whole bunch of line and stuff. So let's just let the time lapse begin. So let's go.
There's no other reason, no other rhyme, nothing but this for which we fight, all for the one who gives us life. There's no other purpose, no other pledge, nobody else has conquered death. And under this banner we are united by the same life, giving us a reason, same love, giving us our freedom, same God that we believe in, the same way leading us to heaven, same hope holding us together, same God always forever. And every thread weaving through time, slowly revealing the great design. Do we see the kingdom forever united by the same life, giving us a reason, same love, giving us a freedom.
Alrighty, guys, we got the transmission completely out of the tractor, got everything cleaned back up, put all the bolts back in the side of the transmission so I won't forget where things go. And now we're going to put the transmission over on the table, but that will be for tomorrow's project because I am very tired. So I guess we will see you tomorrow. Alrighty, guys, it is the next day out here, and went to the junkyard this morning and we found a starter for this thing. It was so amazing. I was looking around through a dumpster full of starters, alternators, electric motors, something like that, trying to see if I could find something that I could modify to work. I came across this starter right here, which I could have made fit, it just would have been a little harder. And this starter right here, which looks exactly the same as the other one. Did have to grind a little bit of, like this little ring right here was too big, so I had to grind it down a little bit and also open the holes up a tiny bit more because it was bigger than the original one, which is right here. But now it fits in there absolutely perfectly, and the engages It spins the engine over just fine, and yeah. The only thing is the solenoid doesn't work. It still kicks the gear out, but doesn't engage the motor, so I just have to run a wire straight to the bottom of the motor there. So I'll show you more in a minute, but hope to take it apart and just clean those contacts, hopefully make that work again, ideally. But today we're going to put the engine back in the tractor. So let's get off the workbench so we can put the transmission, which is right over there, on the workbench without completely destroying my workbench, since those caster wheels I just put on there in a previous video only rated for 300 pounds a piece. That's only 1,200 pounds for the table, plus all the stuff that's on the bottom of the table anyway. So I probably wouldn't be holding a 250 pound engine plus a 300-ish pound transmission very happily. So I'm going to go ahead and put the engine over here, but while I'm in here, there's these 3 hydraulic lines that run up to what used to be a loader on this tractor, and they run back here to where the little hydraulic pump was on the transmission. See if we can get the light there. There we go. So they plug in right there, there, and there. So I'm gonna probably end up capping those off until I put a loader on this tractor. That's assuming that all this stuff works. But I'm going to go ahead and pull those lines out of here. I mean, it's just one less thing under here to get in the way. So, and also condense the power steering line as well. I got to replace them eventually, but I like to keep them in here so I know where everything goes when it comes time to make new lines. So, let's get to it. Alrighty guys, we got those lines all out of here, got the power steering lines out of here, and the next thing is going to be dropping the engine back in this thing. But, so here's the engine mounts right here, right over here, right there, and right there. So, these things used to have, I'm guessing, a piece of rubber between here and here. Each of these 4 engine mounts have the exact same thing. And they're just bolted on there. But the bolts, of course, they just turn. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is just take these out, cut them off, take them out, and then I can just drop the engine in here, or then put a gap in there with a piece of rubber, like a big piece of like tire rubber from like an old tractor tire or something, drill a hole through it, and then just put 1 bolt through it and just get it nice and snug, but not super tight. That way then this whole engine is still, all the vibration can be absorbed through this 4 pieces of rubber. That's the plan, but let's go ahead and cut these things off, reach these 4 corners and on the engine. So let's get to it.
Some days I feel like I can't win, can't get it right. Don't matter how hard I try, today is not my day. When it feels like I'm going crazy, and it looks like nothing's changing. Come sun, come rainy day, you're still the same.
Alright guys, got the engine mounts on the tractor frame all done. Now I gotta do the ones on the engine. I'm gonna try just to remove these by hand because I really don't want to cut around this engine, especially with no valve cover on it, no intake manifold, anything like that. So no water pump, stuff like that. No oil filter. So let's just try to move these just by wrenches, and you know, if I have to, we'll cut it off. But let's try to do it. Finally. Alrighty guys, got each of the bolts out of the engine mounts over here, so that is super awesome. And now it is the next day, by the way, in case you didn't notice. So now our goal is to take that engine and drop it into this frame. To do so, I've called in a friend of mine. Check it out. The friend is called Sketchy. There is a 4x4 sitting up there with a cargo strap running down here, hooked to some chain, which is hooked to the pickup mounts on the engine. What do you think of this idea? We pick the engine up right here, and since it's at an angle there, it picks it up off the table, swings it over here, and then I just swing it over here, and then drop it into the tractor frame. That's how I think it's going to go. Or I might jack it up, picks it up off the table, swings it out, the strap falls, and I ruin my engine. Let's hope for option number 1. Let's set you guys up over here, and let's try this.
In the dark, in the light, in the morning and night, in the good, in the hurt, in the places I hide. When I rise, when I fall, you'll be there through it all. At the start, at the end, in the center of it. Some nights I lay awake and I can't push these thoughts away. I'm worried where I'm gonna go, where I'm gonna be. Are you gonna be there for me? When it feels like the doors are closing, gotta trust that you're doing something. Come sun, come rainy day, you are all I need. In the dark, in the light, in the morning and night, in the good, in the hurt, in the places I hide. When I rise, when I fall, you'll be there through it all. At the start, at the end, in the center of it. There will be days
Okay guys, I got the engine back in this tractor, as you saw me do that. I also just finished bleeding these 2 injector lines. This one right here, something is not wrong with this yet, as far as nothing seems to want to come out of here. I was able to get stuff earlier, but I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can get this thing to run on these 2 cylinders. I pulled the glow plugs out and spun it over with the drill pretty quickly. I'll mess with the throttle cables here and fill it with diesel fuel. And I got fluid to come out of here, and I waited till that was pouring out of here, and I tightened it up, and I could see fumes blowing out of the glow plug hole. So I have fuel inside the system here, and now basically I'm going to go ahead, put this one back together. Well, actually I'm probably leave it out for now, so I can see if it actually comes out of there or not. I have all the plumbing hooked up here, I think it's correctly. We'll drop the glow plugs back in here, fire the starter up to it, and see if we can get this thing to fire up. This is super exciting. If it does fire up, I go ahead and hook the garden hose up to the inlet and outlet of the water cooling system on this thing, and so I have water cooling. But it should be fine just to fire it up for a couple seconds and see if this thing runs or not before I put a huge mess in here and drag the garden hose out and everything. I don't have a radio for this thing yet, as all that stuff burns. So let's go ahead, put the glow plugs back in here, get everything kind of moved away from here, and try to fire this thing up.